The world shouldn't take a moment to rejoice. I know the natural inclination is to take a breath and think, oh my gosh, finally he's gone. But unfortunately, Donald Trump was always just a symptom of our corrupt system. While the corrupt president is gone, the corrupt system is still alive and well. We have two capitalist parties that both represent Wall Street, giant corporations, and the ruling class. 2008, when we did elect the first black president in the United States, it was a moment of great hope.
At this defining moment, change has come to America.
Obama, he ran a campaign that was bold and progressive and, promising to shake up the status quo. And so while he sedated the American people with these platitudes of hope and change, he turned around and governed for Wall Street, giant corporations, and the ruling class. Under the Obama administration, we saw 10 million Americans lose their homes. Under the Obama administration, income inequality grew. In fact, if we just step back, for the last 40 years since Reagan started this failed trickle-down economics, income inequality has grown under every administration, whether it be a Republican administration or a Democratic administration. And so the conditions under the Obama administration is exactly what caused people to be desperate enough to vote for a con man like Donald Trump. Although Biden beat Trump, it was supposed to be a big blue wave.
We were supposed to expand our majority in the House
and take the Senate. Well, we didn't. 2 days after, the corporatists in the Democratic Party tried to blame Medicare for all, tried to blame socialism.
And we need to not ever use the word socialist or socialism ever again.
For the reason that we lost those seats in the House. Actually, if you look, the candidates, the progressives who ran on Medicare for all won re-election.
You, AOC, Bernie Sanders are self-proclaimed socialists. I assume you are still going to be mentioning your socialism going forward.
Look, I want to feed the poor. I want to make sure that we are not picking corporations over people.
It was the corporatists who ran uninspiring campaigns and opposed Medicare for all that actually lost. How is socialism the problem when now in America, capitalism has resulted in just 3 billionaires now own more wealth than half of our entire nation's population? Before the pandemic even hit, we had 140 million Americans who were either poor or low income. We had 92 million Americans who were either underinsured or uninsured. Then the pandemic hit and it just exacerbated and amplified the economic inequality crisis. For this past few months during the pandemic, there was a day where Jeff Bezos made $13 billion in one day. If the Democrats govern and go back to business as usual, that will create the conditions that will lead to an even worse and more competent Trump in 2024. Neoliberalism paves the way for neo-fascism. Speaker Pelosi and the Democrats voted for Trump's military budget. They voted for Trump's authoritarian programs like the Patriot Act, which is mass surveillance. And they voted for militarized policing. All we've seen is the Democrats enable and embolden Donald Trump and embolden the Republican Party. And the reason is because they both have the same corporate donors. These giant corporations in Wall Street, they give about half their money to the Democratic Party and about half their money to the Republican Party, because no matter who wins the election, they win because they've hedged their bets and they've invested in both parties. And actually, in this last cycle in 2020, Wall Street gave more money to the Democrats than it did to the Republicans. The one bright spot under Trump's 4-year presidency is that we've actually been able to elect some true progressives into Congress.
Americans are sick of how Washington works. So why would I learn a broken playbook where lobbyists have taken over this place?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, and now just in this cycle, Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman.
I cannot wait to get to Congress and cause problems for the people in there who have been maintaining a status quo that is literally killing our children.
Who are trying to change the system from within and move the Democratic Party from being a corporatist party to moving it to the left toward justice, toward dignity for all people.
Why would we operate business as usual when business as usual is not serving the public?
But let's not fool ourselves. While I support the efforts of the squad to change the Democratic Party from within, I don't think that's enough anymore. we need to take a second approach. We also have to challenge the system from the outside and build power for the people on the outside. Back when FDR passed the New Deal after the Great Depression, the reason he passed that wasn't because of the Democrats. The Democrats have always been conservative on economic issues. The reason FDR passed the New Deal was because we had a socialist party and, yes, a communist party, and we also had a strong labor movement that pressured FDR to do the right thing. And that is the kind of pressure we need to see in this moment if we want Joe Biden and the Democrats to do the right thing. AOC almost didn't run for re-election because the Democrats and the corporate Democrats were treating her, Medicare for All, and they were treating Black Lives Matter as the quote-unquote enemies. And that just shows you how conservative and corporatist the Democratic Party is. When someone like AOC, who is fearless, she fights unapologetically for the poor and the working class and communities of color, and for her to almost not run again because her party was treating her like an enemy? Are you kidding me? She's like the best thing that has happened to the Democratic Party in a long time, besides Bernie Sanders, who's always been an independent, and now I know why Bernie was always an independent. He didn't want to be affiliated with either of these corrupt parties. So if we want to see real change, we've got to pressure them from the outside too. That kind of activism on the outside is what will pressure these two corporate parties to finally hear the people louder than they hear their corporate donors. As an activist, people say to me, like, why do you criticize Democrats more than you criticize Republicans? Republicans don't lie about who they are. Republicans will be like, yeah, we're going to war, or yeah, we're going to pass a massive tax cut for the billionaire class. Whereas the Democrats, they sedate people with these sugary platitudes. Climate change is real, but we don't support a Green New Deal. Or they say healthcare is a human right. But of course, we're not going to fight for the policy, Medicare for All, to make healthcare a human right. They try to co-opt the language of the progressive movement because they want our votes, but they don't support our policies. And they say they're for the people, but then they turn around and stab us in the back and govern for their corporate donors. And it hurts more to be stabbed in the back by a so-called ally than stabbed in the front by a known foe. 72% of Americans support Medicare for All, despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of Democrats in Congress are opposed to it. Corporate Democrats are standing in the way of progress. And what we're telling these corporate Democrats is enough is enough. You can no longer just talk the talk. It's time for you to walk the walk and represent the people of this nation, or get out of the way. The media is absolutely the biggest barrier to progressive change in America. You will never turn on MSNBC or Fox News or CNN and hear about actual policies that lift up the poor and the working class. What you'll do is you'll turn it on and it'll be like, oh my gosh, Speaker Pelosi, do you know what she did today? She ripped up Trump's speech. Or it'll be like, oh my gosh, can you believe what Trump tweeted today? It's always these kind of superficial issues that don't actually, put food on anyone's table, and it manufactures consent, like Noam Chomsky's brilliant book says. It really does. The greatest threat to the ruling class and to the oligarchs is a multiracial, multi-generational, working class coalition of voters who are trying to take their power back from a system that has robbed them of so much. Like what Bernie tried to build over the last 4 years. When you see your common humanity, you can build the kind of movement and coalition that transcends race and sex. And I'm a member of the LGBTQ community. The Democrats love to pander to my community. I call it rainbow capitalism. Are you really for our community if you're not fighting so everyone in our community can have healthcare? And so I'm tired of the lip service. I'm tired of the performative stuff. Don't tell me you care about our community. Show me you care about our community by fighting for policies that will lift us all up. The new battle in the country and in the world, it's no longer Republican versus Democrat or conservative versus liberal. The new battle is really the people versus the oligarchy. We need to see a global movement of solidarity among the working class to fight back and take back their governments from these oligarchs and from these corrupt politicians who've essentially used our governments to enrich themselves and enrich their corporate donors while we, the people, have been paying the price. As we all know, one of the greatest barriers to progress is corporate media. It is so important for us to support real independent media like Double Down News, who actually care about issues that affect the working class, issues that affect all of our common humanity. So if you can, please support Double Down News on Patreon.